welcome to the first episode of the Road to the Road Hole. This is a rather kind of narcissistic golf podcast, if you will. I just really enjoy playing golf at the moment, and I want to do something that flexes the creative muscles. And I also think it's probably quite good to kind of vent out the frustrations that are coming with the golf game, particularly at the moment after a disastrous return to the sport, shall we say, after about 2 months out or so when I was in Argentina. I am Ollie Wilson. If you don't know me already from the litany of podcasts that are out there that I'm on, although there's only about 20 total listeners, I reckon, for them. I do a sports podcast with a broadcasting colleague of mine, David Windsor, Wilson & Windsor's Not Another Sports Pod, that was formerly known as Wilson & Windsor's Libertadores podcast, all focused around South American football. I do some podcasting with a chap called Sam Morgan, who's a non-league football manager and social media influencer. We do a podcast called This Week in Sport. As you can probably tell, I might like the sound of my own voice too much as well. That might be the other thing, but this is also a bit of a creative experience for trying to flex the muscles of talking to yourself for around about 15 to 20 minutes at a time, trying to keep it engaging and trying to see what comes out without just rambling on aimlessly without any real meaning, which is why I figured I'd base this whole podcast around golf, because that is seemingly what gives my life meaning at the moment. Just don't tell my girlfriend that. She will be back at some point in the next 20 minutes or so that will probably be when I cut off the podcast and this first episode. It's basically just an intro to what I'm kind of thinking behind this. I want to do some video content. I want to do some audio content from on the course. I don't really have an aim in terms of improving my game. It's a golf game that is, as I've mentioned already, highly erratic at the moment and is a awkward state, shall we say. A very nasty hosel has come into my golf game and a massive pull left on my irons as well. The tee shots aren't too bad and the putting is okay at the moment, but everything else is pretty poor, from the fairway, if I'm lucky enough to land in it, to the green. Having said that, I am at the lowest handicap I've ever been in my life. I'm around about 12.9 at the moment, according to the My England Golf app. But there are some really good results that are dangerously close to fading off my handicap record and are going to be replaced by some really, really poor rounds. So all of this is based around the idea as well that this summer, in just a few weeks' time, in fact, myself and a couple of other fellas, John and Ryland from my golf club, Leighton Buzzard Golf Club, we're going to be heading up to Scotland to spend 3 days playing at St Andrews. Now, St Andrews is offering a package that's around about £350 for unlimited golf for 3 days on all of their courses except for the famous Old Course. We will, however, still be putting our names into the ballot for the Old Course at every single possible opportunity and trying to get on there because we all want to play it. It's a course steeped in golfing history. Of course, they had the 150th Open there. It's considered the home of golf in Scotland, the UK, and perhaps across the globe, although some Americans may try and contest that, although you can tell it's such an important course to the world of golf because there aren't many Americans that will try and contest that. And in fact, a lot of golf fans from the US spend their time, money and effort coming across just to play the Old Course in Scotland and some of the other courses, obviously, around the area in St Andrews. Either way, we're going up to play and try and get onto the Old Course, hence the Road to the Road Hole being the name of the podcast. This could be a very short podcast if it only lasts for a few weeks while we get our endeavours sorted, head up to Scotland, and we do get on to the Road Hole and the Old Course. If we don't, however, this will certainly continue as plotting the journey to try and get back up to Scotland and try and play that iconic course once again. So as I said, we have £350 down to play all of the courses except for the old course. That's not included. And you kind of just fill into the tee times whenever possible. It might mean that the three of us don't get to play together too often. It might mean that we're lucky enough to be able to get and fill in on some tee times on the Castle course and the new course that will allow us all to get on at the same time, which would be fantastic. Either way, I think my aim is probably to try and play 2 rounds of golf a day up at St Andrews and see how the body fares up after that after 3 days. I will then, after that, be going up to play Royal Dornoch. Very lucky to have been invited to go and play up there by some people that I met on holiday last November. We might cover that as well, we'll see. But yeah, this is all about the journey, as I say, to the old course at St Andrews and seeing what comes with it, including, of course, the journey up to Scotland. And I'm taking on the delights of Dunstanburgh Castle as well, a golf course that I've had my eye on for a number of months now. And unfortunately, just when I was kind of plotting this out and planning to play Dunstanburgh, I've already got a tee time booked from many, many months ago. Rick Shields, the world famous YouTuber, 2.8 million followers, I think, on YouTube. He dropped a video of him playing up there as one of the best value rounds in the country, which means it might be busier than I was necessarily hoping. That's great for the golf course, not ideal for me, but I already have my tee time booked, so I will be playing that as well, and I'll put up some videos and pictures on my social media, O_J_Wilson, of the sights and sounds from there too. As for the actual golf game itself, well, I said it's in a poor state at the moment. So as I mentioned, I was away working in Argentina for 2 months. It meant that I only got out on the course maybe 4 times in Argentina. It was courses that were riddled with mosquitoes as well, due to the huge influx in mosquitoes that they've had this summer, and they weren't exactly going away for the autumn and winter period that I was there, which meant that playing was pretty horrible. You know, standing over a ball on a tee, and as soon as you stop moving, just literally hundreds of them on your arms and legs. I was wearing trousers, but it's still very off-putting seeing them all there. You come away with so many bites. We had to keep applying mosquito spray every 3 holes to try and keep them away. What little help that provided, it didn't really do much, to be honest. And so playing out in Argentina was very unpleasant. Now, prior to going to Argentina, very fitting, by the way, I'm doing this as Scotland are playing Switzerland, and Scotland have just scored the opening goal of the game. So, yeah, I figured it was quite fitting to be watching this. Scott McTominay celebrating, Steve Clark not exactly looking too happy, although he's dared to at least applaud McTominay for the finish. What really nice goal as well from Scotland. Just before I went away to Argentina in March, I had a slight crisis that followed the greatest rounds of my life. So I had 50 on the front 9 at Leighton Buzzard, my home course, and then I shot 102 around Seaford, which was a golf course I didn't really enjoy. The weather was terrible as well. And I sent a message to my coach, Ali Halliday, saying, I say coach makes it sound like it's a formal arrangement. He's a golf pro who gives me lessons when I pay him money. But I do think he's a really good pro, very easy to work with, very easy to do lessons with, and hopefully we'll sit down and have a chat with him at some point on this podcast as well. But I did 2 of the worst scores I've had in a number of months, maybe even years, to be honest, at Leighton Buzzard and Seaford. Messaged Ali, said, Ali, it's all gone wrong. I can't play golf. This is a nightmare. Please help me. Let's book a lesson in. So we booked a lesson in. And the day after I shot a 102 at Seaford, I went to Woldingham with my mate Adam Inker, another fellow broadcaster, shot an 82. Then my best ever score of my life. That was March the 19th. 2 days later at Leighton Buzzard, this is still, by the way, a March that was very wet and rainy and pretty miserable. 2 days later on March 21st at Leighton Buzzard, I broke 80 for the first time, shot a 79 around my home course, was elated with that. The next day shot an 89, that didn't count towards the handicap. However, a torrid, windy day at Leighton Buzzard, which gave me 2 shots off my score, due to the conditions. On the Sunday, I shot an 88, which went down as a 15.2. That counted towards the handicap. Then went to Enville Lodge in a match in a competition that I'm doing with some friends, which we've called the Crystal. We basically have a home leg against one of our mates, an away leg against one of our mates, and then a round of golf on a neutral course against the third person in the competition. I was playing Jack at Enville Lodge, really nice heathlandy course that also goes through a bit of woodland as well. That was our neutral match for Jack and I shot an 81, which went down on the handicap really nicely, also won the match quite nicely. Had an 87 at Leighton Buzzard, but that also had a couple of shots knocked off due to the torrid conditions and low scoring that day, so that went down as a 13.4 in the handicap. And then I had, that was all basically going into the trip away. So on March 29th, I had that 87 that went down as a 13.4. My handicap was, around about a 13, I think, at that point. Lowest it's ever been. And I was feeling great and really didn't want to put away the clubs, to be honest, for going away to Argentina. Played these handful of rounds in Argentina, but confidence was sky high to the point that I was thinking about, do I need better irons that have more workability? Do I need to start thinking about maybe purchasing? I play with P790s at the moment, but do I need to think about getting the P770s? Am I going to be that sort of player now that can start shaping their shots and get down to a 10 handicap, single figures by the end of the summer? Is that a possibility? Well, that all dramatically came to an end. I shot a 92, a 95, a 92, a 95, and a 93 on my return to Leighton Buzzard, all pretty much in the same week, however. And I've been on an absolute onslaught on the course. I think I've been out 14 times in the 17 days that I've been back or so. And I know what you're thinking. That makes me sound like a terrible person that's neglecting, like, my girlfriend. We've just moved into a house and all this kind of stuff. Not the case. I'm getting out in the daytime or when she's working, when she's away at her evening classes that she does volleyball and some other athletic kind of classes that she does in the evening. So I have not been neglecting her. This has very much been a case of I don't have any work at the moment until the Olympics, so go and play golf. I've had a couple of scores that have been okay since coming back. I had an 84 in a competition at Leighton Buzzard and an 87 the Saturday just gone on the 15th of June. I'm recording this on the 19th of June. And those have given me hope. But I shot 100 on Friday the 14th. I shot a 95 today that was really more like a 100. But obviously the handicapping system means that if you shoot a 12 on a par 5, it still just goes down as an 8. And those 4 shots don't count towards your score, thankfully. So work is needed. Now I've booked in for a 10 a.m. lesson for tomorrow with one of the pros up at my golf club at Leighton Buzzard. I've also got a lesson on Monday with Alistair down at Bearton Driving Range. And I want to sort out the Hosley shanks that have come in, particularly with my 54-degree wedge. I don't know if I'm standing too close to the ball or if I'm just doing something in my swing path or if I'm doing a really bad tendency that I have to, as I come back, lean forward and lean into the ball and then get too close and steep, and that's when the hosel comes into play. Whatever it is, I need to work on it because it's absolutely killing my scores. My 3-wood is being really nice off the tee. My driver is being okay and not putting me in too much trouble. As I say, my irons are, I want to say drawing, but sometimes kind of hooking left and are not as pretty as I'd like them to be. So I also need to work on that. And then chipping around the green, I did a lot of chipping practice and a chipping lesson before I went to Argentina. And that was one of the things that really got me in good stead to put in those good scores back in March that have really lowered my handicap now to a 12.9. So there's a lot to work on. My main aim, I think, for all of this is to A, play the old course, and B, play the old course well. And without a doubt, if I go to Scotland and I'm lucky enough to get on the old course, and we get good conditions, or even if we get bad conditions and I shoot like a 98, there is no way I'm not going back to try and play that course again and try and get on it and try and do the course justice, if you will. Not a chance that I'm not going to try. So it's about the chance to go to Scotland, play these great courses that I've got coming up, and play them well enough that I'm happy that I've given it a good round considering my golfing ability. Now, everybody knows that in golf, you always get disappointed if you're not playing to your handicap, and there's always shots, even on your best rounds, where you think, oh, I could have even been lower than that. I've got to take that into the equation as well. But I am going to try and play this game as well as I can. I do have an aim of getting down to single figures at some point in my life. I'm 36. I've only really been playing golf and taking it seriously. Well, not seriously, but actually trying with lessons and paying attention to my swing as opposed to just trying to hack my way around and improve by touch and feel. I've been getting professional help for the last 18 months, maybe. I think I've had about 8-9 lessons, if that, with Alistair. And I had one with the pro at my old golf course, 3 locks. So the aim is to get down to single figures at some point. Obviously, the body is going to deteriorate. I have to get better with my fitness, get better with losing weight. I have to get better with the golf. I have to do loads of stuff. So the final thing I'd like to do with this podcast is try and talk to pros like Ali and others and get bits of advice for golfers in general to try and improve their game. There's a couple of other people that I can speak to. Hopefully we'll be able to get them on at some point, maybe get some little lessons with them, just 5 minutes and kind of 5 top tip drills or anything like that they can give us. It's a, small podcast with kind of big ideas, if you will. And so, give it a subscribe. We'll see where we go on this. I'll try and put a one out every single week, just saying how well the week has gone in golf. As I say, I've got time at the moment to be out on the course, going up to the Open as well this year. So anything we can get from that will be really fun. And we'll see how it all plays out, really. And get the cool video footage with the drone and everything going. So let's try and get this down to single figures. Let's keep the trend going of this handicap dropping this year. It's lower than I wanted it to go, which is great. I had an aim of being at a 15 this year. I wanted to knock 3 shots off my handicap, and I've got it down, as I say, to 12.9. So being under 13 is a really nice feeling, and yet it's so unsatisfying to be playing more often than not pretty poor golf at this time. So let's try and improve. And if you have any swing thoughts, advice, or anything like that, let me know in comment sections below, write reviews, etc. I'm sure this will get better. It's a really weird thing to talk to yourself for what's been almost 20 minutes now. I did one podcast actually on our Copa Libertadores podcast by myself, talking about the competition, talking about ideas. I haven't even made any notes for this one, so this is an absolutely disastrous start. I should have had some bullet points. It's all got a bit all over the place with me describing what I want to do with this podcast and where my golf game is and everything like that. We'll see if we can get my girlfriend on, see what she thinks about my addiction to golf and everything like that at some point, maybe if she dares to pick up a microphone. So we'll just have fun with it and try and learn a skill of talking to myself and making it semi-listenable for 20 odd minutes or so, and try and learn a skill of getting better and better with this game of golf and getting some advice from people around. Well, it'll definitely get the boys from the trip on at some point, maybe even while we're up there, just to see their thoughts on Scotland and everything else, and maybe some mid-round discussions of our favourite holes and courses that we get to play up there. Could also be an absolute disaster, so we'll see how that trip goes, and we'll see how this podcast goes. So, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Isn't that what you meant to say? I'm not really great with the social media stuff either. I'll try and get better with that, and tune in later on this week to see how the lessons go, I guess.